talking about the structure of the Greek verbal system. This is discussed in Hansen and Quinn in Unit 2, and the account we give you is different and we hope more coherent than theirs. It's not that theirs is wrong, it's a different take on it, and I think it's a more effective take. All right, so let's go through. These are the aspects, not the aspects, the categories of the Greek verb in a hierarchy. And for me, at least, the topmost part of the hierarchy is voice. Voice, I think we all know what passive voice is by experience. And in English, it's opposite to the active voice. So the active voice is I threw a ball, in which the subject is doing the action. The passive voice is the subject is being subjected to something. The ball was thrown by me. Okay. In Greek, there's a third category. Whoops, we lost some light here.
I'll see if I can get it.
There we go. Okay, that's better. In Greek, there's the third category, and it's unfortunately called the middle voice. The passive voice is a latecomer in Greek. The basic opposition is between active and middle, and it is not simple to explain what the middle voice is, but it is not the reflexive. In other words, it's not I threw a ball, I threw myself, I was thrown, okay, or the ball was thrown, okay. The middle voice is a different concept. It's about an action in which the subject is more involved in the consequences as well as the production of a certain action. Okay, but we'll get to that when we have to. The second category in the hierarchy is aspect, and this category, I think, the book doesn't just differ from me. It doesn't have it right, I don't think. But I think it's the most important category in the Greek verb, and getting it straight will help you to understand a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And the Greek aspect system is one of these three-part things, and it was like the stuff we were talking about. It's like the stuff we were talking about in class today about there's a sense of the word lion that's neither male or female, and then there's lion that's male, and as opposed to lioness. Okay, we have at the top of that triangle where lion either male or female is the so-called aorist aspect. And aorist, that's a Greek word that the Greeks actually used for it. It means undefined, okay, aoristos. So it really anticipates the notion that was first explained by the Prague School of an unmarked category. Okay, so that's the aorist aspect. And then you can understand what it is when we explain to you what the imperfective as opposed to the perfective. That's like the lion and the lioness, the male lion and the female lioness. The imperfective aspect, these are three terms for kinds of action. So an imperfective action is one that's ongoing, okay? It's not about when something happens, but what kind of an action we're talking about. So you can say, I am speaking to Belisi about Greek. That's an imperfective verb. I was speaking to Belisi about teaching Greek. That's also imperfective because the action is not complete. The contrast is with perfective aspect verbs, which describe an action that's completed. So in an hour, I have completed speaking with Belisi about Greek. I have spoken to Belisi about Greek. That's a perfective aspect. Or I had spoken to Belisi about Greek in some past time means it's over in both cases, right? Mm-hmm. Not going on, not continuing over a period of time. But with the perfective form, you mark the completion of an action. That's what these words mean in Latin. Imperfect means not complete, and perfect means finished, okay? Whereas aorist is the unmarked one, and actually doesn't specify whether the action is complete or incomplete. It's just the verbal idea, okay? So it's like lion without gender, okay? All right, the third category after aspect is mood. And mood in when we talk about human beings' mood, we talk about them being in a bad mood or being in a happy mood. What goes on there is something, a state of mind which colors your experience of reality. So if you're in a bad mood, everything sucks, okay? And you experience it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the contrary is true of being in a happy mood. It's going to be annoying also. So the notion is that as a grammatical category, mood is about the reality, the relationship of reality to a particular sentence or a particular verbal form. So most people don't even realize this, but when you say, I ate a sandwich for lunch, you could put in parentheses after it, that is true.
Right.
Just by saying that, you're asserting that you're not lying, but telling the truth, okay? And that really is what the indicative mood is. It's really not a mood, it's the absence of a mood, because there's no mood, you're giving it to people straight. I like potatoes. That's the truth, okay? You don't have to say that, but it's implicit in the verb. But the other two, subjunctive and optative, attenuate the realness of your utterance. So in Greek, the subjunctive is what you want to be true or what you expect to be true. And the same is true of the optative, except in the case of the optative, it's less likely that they'll be true. So the subjunctive is something like, I want to like potatoes, or and the optative, I would like to like potatoes, maybe. Okay, stuff like that, where you're talking about, not something that's not simply true, okay, but where you're muting, so to speak, the realness, the truth value of your sentence. So that's an aspect. It's a category. Let's not use the word aspect going into that. That's a category of the Greek verb. After voice and aspect that describes a kind of action, there's whether the different degrees of truthfulness that are implicit in your utterance. Okay? So let's switch to the next page. And now we come finally to the category of tense. That is the time when something happens. So tenses are, quite simply, the ones that we're all familiar with: past, present, and future tense. Okay, and those are not the same as aspects. So you can have in the imperfective aspect, you can have a present, a past, and a future. So the present of the imperfective aspect is I am speaking Greek. The past is I was speaking Greek. We're talking about ongoing processes. Mm-hmm. And the future is I will speak Greek, or to really make it clear, I will be speaking Greek. Okay, most of the time we don't go that far in translating the future, but that's the future of the imperfective aspect. You can also have the three tenses for the perfective aspect. So I have taught Greek, okay, for the day. I'm done, okay? That's a present, okay? Right now, I've done teaching Greek, okay? I had taught Greek is a past of that statement, mm-hmm. right? And the future of it is I will have taught Greek at a certain point in the future. I will be done teaching it, right? Okay? So you can see that you have, for the imperfective and the perfective aspect, in Greek anyway, you have any of the three tenses in the indicative. And it's only in the indicative in Greek that you have tenses. In the aorist, however, we're down. Greek only has one tense, and that's a past tense. Okay? So the only unmarked form for the indicative in Greek is the aorist tense. Okay, mm-hmm. It unfortunately has the same name as the aorist aspect. Okay, because the people who came up with these names didn't really fully understand the category of verbal aspect. But it's an unmarked form in the past. There's no present aorist, and there's no future aorist. There's only a past. Okay, mm-hmm. Theoretically, you could have those things. All right. So again, that's only in the indicative. In the subjunctive and the optative mood, Greek verbs only have aspect. They don't have tense, okay? There is a weird exception where you have a future optative, but it's a very peculiar thing, meant to fit a very strange need, okay? Sixth category, or rather fifth category, is person, the persons of the verb. So when you learn languages, foreign languages of the Indo-European type anyway, you learn verbs. You learn to conjugate them through the person. So I eat, you eat, he, she, or it eats. That's the singular, and those are the three persons of the singular: I, you, and he, she, or it. The difference between them is I is the speaker, you is the person who's present that I'm speaking to, like Belisi, and he, she, or it are people or things that are not present. Right? So I and you have a special relationship, and the third person is the weird one, out. Okay, and formally in Indo-European languages and in Greek, the third one is generally the different one. So if you think about the English verb, I eat, you eat, he eats. That's the weird one, right? I and you are the same, okay? Whereas the third person singular is different. This is why conceptually that happens. In the plural, the persons are we, plural speakers, okay? You all, and Southern English, in regular Boston English, we just use you, okay? Or Chicago English, just use you, and then they, which is the third person plural form. So the we, you, and they, okay? When it comes to the number in Greek verbs, just like in nouns, verbs can be singular or they can be plural. They can also be dual, okay, in Greek. We're not learning the dual in this version of Greek, but you're going to come across it. It's a real thing. And the dual is for natural pairs. It's not two lollipops, but two eyes or two hands, right? Things that come together in pairs. The last category of the Greek verb are participles and infinitives, which are related to each other formally in ancient Greek and in their functions. And they have neither person, nor number, nor tense, nor mood. They only have aspect, okay? But they do have, in the case of participles, they do have, instead of person and number, they have gender, number, and case, because participles are actually adjectives. And infinitives don't have any person or any number, they only have aspect. We'll come to them soon. All right.